I've been thinking a lot lately about the concept of the agency of God. In Scripture, especially in the Old Testament, God is mentioned as doing things very directly, speaking to his people very directly, sending people very directly. It is always made obvious in Scripture what is the working of God. I've been reading Judges lately, and there are a lot of occasions where the Scripture says that God sent Israel a judge after Israel cried out. What does that actually look like, though? Surely it's not God in heaven pointing down at the earth and saying, "You, go save Israel from the oppressors." While that would be cool, something tells me that's not exactly what it looked like in the Old Testament. I think oftentimes, personally, I find myself reading these stories in the Old Testament and envying the direct engagement from God in the way that the Scripture describes it. But I think that sometimes this is based on a misunderstanding of the Scripture. The description of God as being the direct acting force that causes things to happen seems to be more of a literary device or an explanation of how things are. Surely God is the one who divinely orchestrates the ways that the world is. He's the one who orchestrates all things under the sun. But it's not as if he is a physical king sitting on a physical throne ordering his subjects around and pointing at things and saying, "This is how this needs to be." God is an immaterial, uncreated, timeless being who is not confined by human understanding of the way that reality functions. And so to expect God to behave in the same way that human rulers behave, or in many cases human fathers would behave, is flawed. And I think that's where I find myself a lot. Maybe you can relate to this, but sometimes when seeking God, especially in difficult times in life, I notice myself feeling this desire for some sort of direct engagement. When you're a child and you have a bad dream, your reaction is usually to run to your parents' room in the middle of the night, sometimes scaring them out of their skin in the middle of their sleep, and receive comfort from them. When you have a bad day at school or when you fall and skin your knee, your response is to go to your parent and have them directly comfort you in the moment. Now, while God is comforter, that comfort often does not look like a hug directly from God himself. Metaphorically, I think God provides these embraces in other ways. But oftentimes, at least I fall into the trap of wanting interaction from God in the same way that humans interact with other humans. And God is not a human. I'm not a theology student. I don't know a ton about church history, the church fathers, contemporary theologians, what their thoughts are and what they're based on. Truthfully, I still need to learn the Bible itself better than I know it now. But these are some things that I have been wrestling through as someone who has been a follower of Christ for years, as someone who is just starting to take faith really, really seriously in the last 5 or so years. These are perspectives that I have not really heard talked about by other people, and I have found it difficult to reconcile some of these things within myself because I don't have people talking about them to listen to, and I don't have people guiding me through where my mind and my heart are at right now. So I think it makes sense to talk about these thoughts and these issues. I think there are a multitude of different struggles that Christians have that are not addressed by any of the main theological camps. And unfortunately, sometimes I feel like if concerns go unaddressed for too long and these concerns grow to be a huge issue for people, sometimes that can be what pulls people away from the church. And that sucks. So I hope that this has been some sort of a unique perspective, and I hope that this resonates with someone. I think that there are a lot of ways that we as humanity think about God that are limited by our understanding of human interaction. And I'm not saying that I have mastered that. By no means am I saying that. I still struggle with this heavily on a daily basis. But I think the more that we can talk through these issues, the more that we can think and talk through these issues, the better off we'll be. And ultimately, the better we will understand who God is. I think the more that we understand who God is, the more we realize we can never fully understand who God is. But hopefully, talking and thinking through these issues can bring us just a little closer to a better understanding of who our great God really is. That's about it. Thank you for listening to me yap about my thoughts and feelings. And if you enjoyed this, if this was thought-provoking or entertaining or informative in any way, I would greatly appreciate you hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked it, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with whenever I post. Sometimes it's random thought videos like this. Sometimes it's music content. I don't really know what I'm doing on YouTube at this point. I just think it's fun to share who I am with the world. Anyways, peace out. Love you guys. God bless.